put the vacuum line in the trunk, and right here is the hose. It comes, I drilled a hole back here in the tire well, and it goes around the tank up in the fire, or up in the wheel well here. I got it zip tied there. And in the same way, it's basically the same way I did the fuel line, except for on the other side of the car. And then it runs here, and then it's going up there to the brake booster. So all I have to do is plug it into the booster, and then I have to figure out the wiring. Okay, that was easy. This line here, put these wires back. So in here shoots down the transmission tunnel and plugs in right there, pushed right in. It's a nice tight fit. It's actually a lot smaller than this hose that came off of it. Now this wiring. These are the power and ground. And then there's this, what looks like a sensor, and the relay. So I gotta figure out how exactly that's supposed to work, because I'm thinking that sensor, and this is just right off the top of my head right now, that sensor powers this relay, tells it when to turn on and off, and then this relay probably goes and wires into these two wires, and I just got to get 12 volts to this relay, and I don't know, something like that anyway. So while I'm at it wiring in the vacuum pump, these three wires I had switched. One was the water pump, one was a fan, and the other one was a fan. I believe I had two fans, okay, that I was able to turn off and on one at a time, and one is a water pump. Well, that's not a very good idea, because you forget to switch these switches, and then your engine will overheat, and I'm not going to take that chance. I've forgotten to put these on, switch these on before, and it got a little hot, but not hot enough to do any damage. But it was just like, the writing's on the wall, I'm going to forget, and then I'm going to really overheat this thing. So these are going to get put together and cut, and then I'm going to just hardwire them in. No switches. If I want to run the fans or turn the fans off, I'll just get in the computer and do it. I don't know. It just seems like a bad idea. I probably shouldn't even be messing with them. When they're on, they're on, they're off, they're off. Whatever they're set at, and leave it alone. You can hear them working. Now I'm going to turn them off. So I go to basic IOs, run my temperature up. I'm going to do like 160. On one fan, and 180 or something on the other fan. Whoops. This off at 159. it might never shut off. And this off at 179. Hopefully it will shut off. And then USB link, and it says system failure on the 1, so I'm going to click send to ECU, and now the fans are off. That's how you check your fans. I changed my thermostat to a 160 thermostat, and so now there's probably air in the system, so I'm hearing outputs. I went to inputs and outputs here, and I'm in outputs, and then I come over here to configure, and I got this set so that it'll come on above 500 RPMs, and it'll come on at 160 degrees or above. So I'm gonna change this to 1, and then I'm gonna bring this down to like 70 degrees or 50 degrees, whatever. Secondary deactivate, okay. Now, I think that should have turned the fan on, or the pump on. I don't see the pump working. I'm gonna run out and check and see, because that pump's kind of quiet. Yep, pump's working. And need to add some coolant. So that's how you do that. And then when I'm done adding coolant and getting the air out of it, I'll go back into settings and turn them back up. I like to use this funnel because the radiator is here, and then that hose is a couple inches higher, and so I like to make sure I get all the air out by making the water up here higher than everything that the engine could possibly be. Wrote down these wire colors: fan 1 B12, pin connector E, gray with yellow. That's the one I want to keep. This fan number 2, gray with red, that one I want to disconnect from that fan, and I'm going to connect both fans to the gray with yellow, and this gray with red is going to help me with my trans brake. I'm in here looking at my pin map, and I'd planned this out once before, and up there I got my NOS stage 1 out, and I don't have nitrous yet, and so when I do get nitrous, maybe I'll worry about it. But I got this pinned: electric fan 1, 2, and then trans brake and water pump. So that's B10 that I have planned for the trans brake. B10 is gray with black. That gray with black is right here in this bundle of wires. So that is going to, at some point, get unwrapped from this bundle of wires and sleeved, and then ran down to the transmission. These I can just go ahead and tuck them back in again. Alright, got interrupted with a phone call. I was messing with this, taping them back up and stuff, and this power wire just pulls right out of the inside of that plug. So good thing I found that now instead of overheating my engine to find it. Alright, so I got this taped back up again and ran in, and I taped them up really good, and I stuffed them in this hole right here, so they're like right there. So they're out of the way. And this area is cleaned up a little bit better. So this black and gray wire is gonna shoot straight down to the transmission at some point, I think I already said. So the white and green wire is in this bundle too, and that white and green will be the input for the trans brake. So that white and green should be the button that goes to the shifter. I would push the button, it would go on that yellow, white and green, and then it would output to the gray with black. Jesus. The output with the gray to black. So I just need those two wires, one to go to the switch on the shifter, and one to go to the actual trans brake. And then when I click that button, the rev limiter will that's internal. The rev limiter will automatically kick in and only allow me to go to 3500 or whatever I set it to. Alright, so I'm in my inputs. Right, I got my trans brake labeled here. Its type is ground enabled where used. It just says input is in uses the following trans brake switched input. Okay, so I got it set for ground, not 12 volts. So this switch comes out here, goes to these wires here. Okay, so, and I'm kind of guessing here. This one's going to go to a ground. This one's going to go to that, what was it? White and green and white or something. I don't know. Whatever that wire I just said was, the color of that wire, it's going to go to that input wire. So that's going to, when I press this button, it will ground that wire. Right? And when it grounds that wire, the input wire, the computer should send power to the solenoid through the output wire. Let's see. Outputs. So that one, that's the trans brake. When it gets switched with that other wire configure, this output will activate with the trans input, and it's enabled. So I believe that means it'll send voltage to the trans brake solenoid, but it really doesn't say. So switched one, trans brake input enabled, and that's in outputs. So I think that's how it's going to be. I suppose I could hook this up and then test voltage at that other wire to see if it sends voltage where it's supposed to. Alright, so I'm not certain that this is how it's supposed to work, but I got it wired like I explained it, and I got this measuring continuity, right? Because it doesn't read 12 volts. I already tried that. So 12 volts, push the button, Nothing, right? I go to continuity though, and this is everything hooked up the way I was talking about, where the one wire is input and the one wire is output, and I'm checking for the output. I'm checking this is hooked up to the output wire to see if it gets power when you push the button. It doesn't get power, but it gets continuity. That button grounds. Okay. Now the transbrake is grounded inside the transmission, so I don't think I can cut that power because it's grounded in the transmission. It's going to get its ground no matter what. So I gotta change it. And I think I gotta change it in the computer to send 12 volts. So let me see if that works. Alright, so outputs, transbrake, well, it gives me two choices. I don't know what PWM means. The output type has been changed and reset. Some configure parameters. Please check them in application. I don't know what PWM means though. I'm hoping 12 volts. Okay. Oh, I think I gotta send it to the USB link, inputs and outputs, send to ECU. Alright, now let's switch this over to 12 volts. Push the button, nothing. That didn't work. Okay, I'm in. I figured it out, I think. I'm in inputs now, and this is still ground, so I need to change this to 12 volts. I was currently assigned to a pin and will not accept this new style. Please move the I/O to a new pin before changing the type. Alright, pin map. That one, put that there. Oops. Okay, so now I got them. Well, I think they're all the same. F5HG. F5HG. Change it there. Now let's see if it'll let me change. Currently assigned to a pin that will not accept this new style. Please move the input output to new pin before changing the type. Well, I want 12 volts there. I guess I'm gonna. Okay, so I watched a couple videos, and the way I have it right now is right where it gets continuity when I press the button. So it's sending it to ground, getting ground, okay? So just like the fans and the water pump, it needs a relay. I'm not sure if it needs a special kind of fast acting relay or just a regular relay. I have to look into what kind of relay if it's a special kind or not. But it's just going to be the same thing. I'm going to find some 12 volt power, put it on the relay, send the power from the relay to the transbrake, and then when I push the button, the ground will ground the relay will power the solenoid, and there you have it. So I got the wiring kind of figured out here. So I decided I'm going to solve this switched power source problem today. I looked at the print, and this red and green wire off the ignition switch is hot with the key on and off with the key off. So I'm going to follow this red and green wire. It's supposed to go to the PCM, I believe. And I'm going to find a good place to tap into this sucker. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to run a wire back to the trunk, so I have a keyed switch out there in the trunk, and I might even run one to the engine bay so I have a keyed source there. But right now I only need it in the trunk, so you know, probably wind up just doing the trunk. Spent a few minutes struggling trying to figure out where this wire goes. It goes up into a loom about 6 inches from here. Who knows where it goes? I'm not going to tear the whole car apart trying to figure out a better place or another place to do it, so I'm just going to do it right here. What better place to do it than the place you know it's at? So I'm going to solder that in. There, I soldered it, and then I couldn't think of a better place to try that liquid tape than here. Ran all the way down here, kind of runny. It'll probably dry good though. I just have to give it a little time, and then I'll run the rest of this wire back there and put this dash back together, and whatever, I'll run any switched wire off of that wire. I won't have to dig under there again. Perfect. That's where I'm at. I didn't get very far today. I had mowed the grass and stuff to do, so that's exactly where I left off, and I'll get back at it on my next day off. Thanks for watching.